this summer, we actually had the chance to go to Luxembourg. So I took my family to Luxembourg for 3 weeks, and we got to see a couple different countries. I mean, it was all during COVID, but we got to see like a bunch of different sites and everything. So I took a few pictures, and I want to share them with you. By the way, I'm a little weird. I'm kind of a lockpick enthusiast. So here's a picture of a balcony, and my wife's wondering, like, why are you taking a picture of that? It's like, there's locks. She's like, you're such a dork. It's like, no, you're supposed to take pictures with the kids and stuff, like overlooking this beautiful European country and everything. It's like, okay, I'll take pictures of the kids, but I still got the locks there because, you know, he's like, oh, you're such a dork. She knew what I was when she picked me up. Anyway, and then, you know, we got to see all these old cathedrals and castles and different things like that. So walked through the castles and like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. It's like, oh, I got to get a picture of that. It's an old medieval safe, or kind of like a safe, like a Casa Forte sort of thing. And, you know, they really didn't like me touching it and looking at the keyhole, but I don't speak Luxembourgish or French very well, so I guess they said no. And then we went into the royal bedroom and saw this amazing ornate bedroom where the ancient kings or dukes or whatever stayed, but they had this really cool like dresser with these really cool warded, with cool warding locks. So I take weird pictures on vacation, so let's move on from that. So lockpicking, why? Why do lockpicking? Because you're bad at coding. Oh wait, no, that's why I did it. But that is a good reason to pick up lockpicking, because programming's hard. I'm just kidding. Anyone can do it, everyone can learn it, it's fun. Physical security can be as devastating as like a network security attack or something of that nature. So, you know, if I can hack into a server and then pivot from there, get into your network, it's pretty bad. If I can get physical access to your server, that just got rid of a whole bunch of hurdles for me. So it's like we spend all this money protecting these enterprise level firewalls and, you know, try to get all this monitoring set up, and then I put a hardware $15 thing on my network closet. Or I have a improperly hung door, or we have a, you know, we rent our office or something, and it's just like a cheap, not well-maintained building. Anyone could break into it. Everybody has keys to the whole building, even though you rent a floor and you want to keep it just your stuff. So physical security is important. This was actually my gateway drug into info security. I got into physical security lockpicking, and then I was like, oh, there's this whole area of InfoSec. Because at the time, I wanted to be a DBA, and then I took this security class while I was learning how to pick locks. I was like, oh, I should do that. That's a good life choice. So I did. It's a life skill. Also reinforces the security mindset. So you think about how easy it is to get through this lock, and then you can take that same kind of analytical, like, okay, this is a high security lock, but I defeated it with a toothpick or something like that. Then you can start thinking like, okay, what about virtual locks and things like that? Also, it's fun. By the way, I didn't ask them if I could use this picture. For what it's worth, they have masks on. So, sorry, Adam, Nate, Tarkus, Duzzy. Anyway, there you go. Tool. We have a few Tool board members here, actually. This is the Open Organization of Lockpickers. They have a couple rules. I like to bring it up whenever we teach lockpicking classes. Never pick a lock you don't have permission to. This kind of makes sense. And never pick a lock that you depend on. So this would be like, let's say you rent an apartment, I'm going to pick that lock. And if you're not careful or something, you can actually break locks by picking them. And if it's a lock you depend on, like the only door to your apartment, and you break it, whoops, now we have to get that drilled out and replaced or whatever. Also, that's a horrible misquote by me. The rules are something like that, but those are the two basic founding rules. So, all right. The anatomy of a lock. So this might be a review for some of you. If you've been down to Lockpick Village, we've probably given you a quick 5-minute overview, but here's some pictures. These are from Tool, and I just borrowed them because they're better. So in each pin stack, as you see on the right, you have a key, and it's got different cuts, and those correspond to the red pins. Those are called the key pins because they're the pins that the key touches. Some say top pins, some say bottom pins, but if it's installed upside down, then that switches. So key pins, and then the blue pins are drive pins. They are being driven down by those springs. So key pins, the ones the keys touch, drive pins, the ones that are driving down. And then if you have a properly cut key, it will line up those key pins at that line where the cylinder will rotate. That's called the shear line. So basically in picking locks, you're going to try to get those lined up on the shear line to get the lock to open. This is a front view. This on the left, that's what the front of the lock will look like. You have the cylinder or the plug, and then you have the larger lock itself. And often you can see like the front pin in kind of stuff. And then right in the middle is a top-down view. So you'll see that those pins are slightly staggered. They're not in a straight line. The reason I'm showing you that is because sometimes when you're picking a lock, it's like, okay, I'm going to put my pick in, I'm going to do pin 1, then I'm going to go to pin 2, then pin 3, then pin 4. Sometimes it doesn't work like that because they're machined slightly out of sync. So it might be the third pin is the first one that binds or whatever, and then it's like the third pin, and then the second, and that kind of a situation. So this is really hard to teach when you don't have locks to actually like show people how to fill. So come down to the Lockpick Village. You'll get your hands on this and everything like that. So types of lock picks. There's your hooks or your feeler picks. There's two basic ways to pick a lock. We'll talk about it in a second, but these are different lock picks. S-picks or snake picks, because they look like a snake. Half diamond, you'll never guess why it was called a half diamond, or a half ball. They also have like full diamonds, or they have like ball picks. They have double ball picks. We call those snowman, because they look like a snowman. Snow person, sorry, 2021. Then you have your L rake or your city rake, kind of because it looks like a city skyline sort of a situation. City rake, L rake. There's also the W rake, which was on my bio slide, which is horrible. Don't ever use one. They're terrible. Okay, so you need two tools. The first one, you need a pick. The second, you need a tension tool or a turning tool. So there's a couple different kinds. There's these. There's some that are just like a straight piece of metal that's bent. There's some that's bent and then it's twisted and has a little more give. They're okay if you're learning, but it's better to have ones that are more rigid that don't bend as you twist them. There's also things like, let's see, these are Bogota picks. These were invented by a guy named Raimundo. So they could be either picks or tension tools, and you can hide them. Like they're really small, they're really skinny and stuff like that. So you can use one as the tension tool, the other as a lock pick. It takes some practice. And then another are these Peterson pry bars. Other companies make them as well. So when you're picking, often you'll put the tension tool at the bottom of the keyway, and then you'll be picking. But these tension tools, these pry bars at the top, you actually put them at the top. So if we go back a bit, I'll show you what I mean, because okay. I don't know if my cursor's in it. Okay, here's my cursor. So often you'll put the tension tool down here, but with the pry bars, you can actually put them up here, and then you have all this real estate down here to maneuver your pick. So that's what those are for. All right, other non-picks, this is a term I coined, it might not be true, but auto jigglers. So for old style cars, you can actually like jiggle them open. They're a double-sided wafer, basically. You can jiggle them open. You can do it with or without a tension tool. Pick guns, these are basically kind of the concept of like a Newton's cradle. So basically, you have your key pins, then your drive pins. You basically hit the key pins, and the drive pins bounce up above the shear line, and then you open it. Often, police officers or people, with warrants or whatever, they will use these because it's quicker than trying to pick. You just pop it open and bounce them above the shear line, then you can twist it open. Bump keys, this is a similar concept. Now, the key has to be specific for the lock. So a master lock, you have to use a master key that fits, or a Schlage, or a quick set, or whatever. And the basic concept with that, it's really, really bad on the locks. It's rough on the locks, but you pull it out one click, and you basically whack it with a hammer or the back of a screwdriver, and basically when you hit it in, all these little ridges on the key will actually do the same thing, bounce up the drive pins so you can twist it. Bumping is very mean on locks, and us purists are like, that's not art, that's horrible. Anyway. Shims, plug spinners, under the door tool. If you're in my last talk, we talked about this. We have all these things downstairs. Probably not going to do bump keys and stuff, though, because, yeah. Slim Jims or Shroom tools, Lloyd tools, things like that. Okay. These are kind of types of lock picking. So lock picking, lock sport, hobbyist, it's kind of something fun to do or whatever. The art of lock picking, really learning the techniques and everything. Quick and dirty, that's like raking, scrubbing, jiggling, brute forcing, carding the lock. That's just like, I got to get in. Some of that isn't lock picking, I know, but whatever. Then covert entry, this would be like your spy stuff, Jason Bourne, your physical pen testers getting in, like maybe stuff like that. I don't know. So here is an animation, And there's two ways to pick, basically. There's single pin picking, which is this. So you have a hook or something hook-like, and you're picking one pin at a time. You're doing a single pin. So basically, you insert your tension tool, then you're using your hook, and you're putting slight tension on your tension tool. And then with your hook, you're just going through and you're lifting. Some are going to feel springy, and some are going to feel like they're grinding a little bit, like they're almost sticky or whatever. And when you push it up to a certain height, you'll feel a click, or you might even hear a click. And you know how they didn't go in order. That, you know, pin 3, okay, now pin 5 just went, 4 didn't work, 2, oh, pin 1 went. And oftentimes that's how you should start. You should start with single pin picking, really get to understand and learn the touch of lock picking, sort of a thing. And the reason they don't pick in order 1, 2, 3, 4 is that same concept. They're staggered how they're done or whatever. Also, one thing very important, and you'll probably see this downstairs, a bunch of the picks are bent. You never need to twist the pick. That's what the tension tool is for. You use the tension tool to do all the twisting, and the pick just goes up and down or in and out. You never need to twist the pick. Pro tip. Okay, the other one is raking or scrubbing. This is where you would have an S rake or a city rake or something more along those lines. And this is where you're kind of just messing around and sort of get lucky sort of a thing. It's quicker, but sometimes it doesn't work. And you can't fill the pins as well because you're hitting multiple pins at once. Whereas with a hook, single pin picking, you're kind of doing individual pins, really getting that good feedback sort of a situation. So sets, this is a bit outdated, but I didn't update the slide because I was writing this morning. This is one that I have on me at all times, pretty much. It's the Southern Specialties jackknife. It's this little one here. And it has several picks on it and things like that. And it's pretty good. I like it a lot. You can get a full set. Southward sells them. Sparrows lock picks, a couple different places. And these are nice because often you'll get a lot more than you need. Like, there are some people who teach, like, you know what, get a Bogota set or get the Sparrows mace set. We're actually giving some of those away down in the box. That's the big black octagon thing in the Lockpick Village. We're actually giving away lockpick sets, little lockpicking competition sort of thing. But yeah, I recommend you get like a basic set. Sparrows Tuxedo is a great one. Sparrows Quick Start. Sparrows EOD has a few extra things like some bypass tools. It has a mini gym in it, some stuff like that. But yeah, you can find these online. They're not illegal to buy. They used to be kind of restricted. You remember in the keynote yesterday talking about how, oh, only locksmiths can do this and stuff. Actually, when I got started, there were some tools I wanted, and my locksmith uncle had to order them out of a magazine. I couldn't get them online. It was kind of interesting. Totally changed. Sparrows, Peterson, Southward, they all sell it. And there's tons of sites you can find them. You can get them on Amazon or Wish or Banggood. Some of them are good, some of them are just junk, but I mean, regardless, you can get them, you can find them. I'm not sure if there's still some in the store. We were selling some Genesis lockpick sets, so there you go. Let's see, some sites that are good, tool.us, the open organization of lockpickers, that's a good place. Lockpick Wiki, LPL's YouTube channel, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm very surprised, because it's very good. I like his short format. He explains the different things. He explains the different locks, and he's even gotten into bypassing and gotten into electronic locks and things like that. Southward is a site that I originally ordered from, Sparrows Lockpicks. Reddit, there's a lockpicking subreddit. There's a bunch of stuff there. Yeah, there's lots of different places. There's books on it. I mean, honestly, the best thing you could do is, like, get a lockpick set, buy a couple padlocks, or maybe go to like the DI or Safeway or Salvation Army, Habitat for Humanity, get some old locks and practice on those and just start learning it. There was this book written back in 2010. This one is more on physical pen testing and all the things. It has like one chapter on lockpicking, but it talks about all things. It's a little outdated, but it's still really good. Unauthorized access, I really liked it. Deviant wrote a book called Practical Lockpicking. He's written a couple others. There's like Advanced Lockpicking. There's a whole slew of them, but these are some good ones. And then this new one that I've added, we have a copy of this downstairs by Pat Watson. He does the podcast Uncensored Tactical. It's uncensored for a reason. Anyway, Uncensored Tactical, it's a good book. My only complaint is I wish you would have called it tactical lockpicking and bypassing, because this covers both very well. There's colored photos of like different attacks and ways around things, but it also talks about the methodology, like you approach a lock, quickly assess it kind of a thing, like, do I need to pick this lock, or can I look in that filing cabinet 2 feet away and grab a key that's probably hidden in there? You know, it's really good for physical pen testers, people that want to, you know, learn more about that. And it covers a lot of things that I haven't covered in this or the lock bypassing talk before it. So basically, that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any heckling they want to do that they don't want to put in Discord? Okay. I have a few extra slides. This is outdated. It's a few years old, but Deviant had a list of high security locks that he recommends to people. Schlage Primus, I actually have one of these downstairs. It's a nightmare. I've never picked it. Best is a brand. SFix, which is small format interchangeable core, something like that. These are more of your commercial ones. Abus, Abloy, Sargent, and Greenleaf. These are actually, Sargent and Greenleaf also makes several safe combination dials that we have over at the Vault station. There's a few things like that. Yeah. Oh, here's a GIF of a auto jiggler. Okay, now you can heckle me. I said GIF, not GIF. But here's how you use auto jigglers. I mean, older model type keys, but basically you would jiggle those and you put a slight twist on them and you go in and out and you pop them open. I've opened several cars legally doing this, and it's a lot less obtrusive than, like, you know, reaching through the weather stripping with a hanger and trying to push the button, or like slim jimmying and possibly tearing out wires. It's a lot less intrusive. This is what bumping looks like. It's very rough on the lock because you're literally hitting it with a hammer. Also, if you're trying to be sneaky and do a physical pen test engagement, you're literally knocking on the door you're trying to get into. It's not very quiet, like you're kind of hitting it. And it's not a guarantee you're going to get it either. Some even have anti-bumping technology, which may or may not work, but picking still gets past those. So, okay, that's all my slides for real. So, any questions, comments, concerns? Yes? So the question was, what about getting into safes? So it depends on the safe. So there's some safes that have a combination, and the vault station downstairs, they will actually teach you what safe vault technicians learn, how to fill for it and everything. And we have cutaways where you can actually see how to line up the tumblers and find the gates. A lot of safes will actually have a bypass key. So you have a keypad or a safe or something, and then you'll have a bypass key right next to it. So I've opened probably like 12 or 13 safes. Most of them, I just went for the bypass key and I opened it that way, and then they were able to get in and reset it. My mother-in-law actually, yeah, we got a few minutes, I'll show you. So my mother-in-law called me up, this was a while ago, and she said, hey, I just bought a safe for 10 bucks. Can you pick it? I was like, no, why, mother-in-law? So this is what she did. She said, hey, I bought a safe for 10 bucks. Can you open it? I was like, probably not. I was like, cool, I bought it anyway. Like, okay, are you coming up for Thanksgiving? He was like, yes. So this is what it was. Now, fun fact, first of all, it's a digital combination. Also, the number 4 is broken, so the default code wouldn't work. And she's like, can you open it? It's a really cool deposit safe. She has this little slit thing. So what I did, went to Harbor Freight, bought a couple of really long, like 28-inch, 24-inch screwdrivers, some wire pulling kit, and then this is my boss's Wi-Fi endoscope. So I grabbed that. I had to do destructive entry, so I prefer, you know, picking the lock and then you can reuse it. But this one, it was broken. We'd have to replace it anyway. So what I did on the back of the safe, so here's the front of the safe, I drilled 3 holes, 2 up high and 1 down low. I put the Wi-Fi endoscope inside, and then basically I had to use my 28-inch long screwdriver things. First there was a back panel, so I had to unscrew that, have that fall off. And then I had the locking mechanism behind that. So these are all from the endoscope. And then basically I had to start unscrewing the actual safe locking mechanism on the back. And then as soon as I removed that and it popped off, this little solenoid thing slapped into place and locked it permanently. It was a fail-safe, so if you remove that, it slams into place. was like, swear word. So what I had to do was I actually had to reach in and I had to push that down, and then I had to reach around the 3-foot tall safe and open it. Because once I had that down, that fail safe, I was able to open it from the other side. And I may or may not have been a little excited because that's the first time I opened a safe without using the bypass key or trying to figure out the combination, because it was a digital. I couldn't have. It wasn't even an option. And then I got it open, and then I might have been a little giddy about it. Also, I only own only one T-shirt, so that's another thing. So there's a different method. Some safes have a bypass key, and you can pick it, but yeah. Go down to the vault. They'll teach you some of this stuff. So nothing. Some shelves and stuff. They were hoping for money or something, but it was just old stuff. And then we were able to replace the dial with a new electronic dial and set it to whatever they wanted. So, all right. Any other questions, comments? Yeah. A dial lock, like the circular one? That special tool on the. I've got one downstairs. Come find me. And they also have some of the tubular locks at the Los Santos as well. Come and find me. I'll show you how. I think we might have one at the Lockpick Village we can practice on. So, thanks everyone.